Welcome to the Cosmic Dispatch, a show about bodies, celestial and earthbound, time, experience, and the relationship between all of them. I'm your host, Cory Nakasue, and good afternoon. Hope you're all well on this sticky, sweaty, hot last week of June. It's really kind of nasty out there in Kingston, New York. It's one of those 90 degrees, feels like 98. Um, so, yeah, yuck. And we are in a lovely air conditioned studio today. So, we got to get out of that for a while. We are officially in the midst of Cancer season and therefore summer as of last week. I didn't get too into Cancer season last week because I was too busy saying goodbye to Gemini season. The new moons that are now happening later in the season has kind of messed up the logic of my new moon show. So I'm still figuring that out. And actually, today, Cancer season is still sharing the stage with Gemini a little bit. And there's an event happening in Kingston this weekend that I really wanted to cover. And it has a Gemini vibe. But I promise from here on out, we'll dive deeper into Cancer. And before I forget, for all of you who were coming out to the solstice event at Opus 40 last weekend, yes, that was last weekend. For all of you who missed that, we got postponed due to weather. We're trying that again on July 2nd from 6 to 9 ish. It's the same program, only there's going to be a full moon out. So perhaps I'll be talking about that. And you can buy tickets and find info about that event, plus all the other awesome programming at Opus 40 at opus40.org. So, Cancer season, since I didn't talk a lot about it last week, I just want to say a couple things as sort of a primer. Cancer season is the season of the womb. Cancer season, it's like a way back machine that has us longing for our emotive, pre verbal bodies. It's a time for recalling, recollecting, and remembering our original homes, the liquid pools that held us suspended in protection, and the steady pulse of our caretaker and nourisher. Our first senses involved movement and an unquestioned supply of warmth, rest, food, and human connection. Our minds at this time, they're not formed, so we don't even know how to question our basic existence, and we just are. And I've been thinking a lot about this quote from the media theorist Marshall McLuhan in regard to our rapidly advancing technological world and the body. And this is the quote: "When you move at the speed of light, you do not have a private identity. And when you don't have a private identity, or rather, when you don't have a body, you don't relate to natural law. Gravity has no control over you at the speed of light. You're suddenly outside of the natural scheme of things. You're a superman. This does all sorts of things to the human psychology, completely transforms people. It's a completely hidden ground. It has nothing to do with the content. And this complete transformation of the user is never mentioned in all the literature on technology. Not a word about it because it's hidden. The huge nostalgia for of our time in every field of music, literature, clothing, everything. Nostalgia is an attempt to get back to the time when we had bodies. And this Cancer season, kind of as a meditation for the next few weeks, notice what your mind keeps drifting back to. What are the images, emotions, sensations, and sounds that are pooling around your consciousness? What are the reasons you stay disconnected from the things, people, and places you miss? Investigate that. Chances are that these items hold the keys to your most primitive sense of self, which is actually grounded in connection. Something to meditate on this Cancer season. And speaking of bodies and grounding and connection, my in studio guests today are Wendy Rein and Ryan T. Smith of RAWdance. And this is where the show backtracks a little into Gemini. So, Gemini, we have dance. Like, Gemini is one of the main signs for dance, symbolizing dance. And we have the archetype of the boy and girl twins. We have collaborators, and RAWdance is a bi-coastal company. That's another Gemini thing. And they're producing and performing in an event this Saturday in Kingston, and I really wanted to support their work. Um, so that's why they're here patiently waiting as I get through this astro forecast. Um, but yeah, back to Gemini and Cancer. They're heavily represented in this week's astro weather. So we will talk some more about Cancer. It will be snuck in there. But before we get to this week's astro weather, just want to say thanks to everyone who supports this show and gives us such great feedback. It really helps us guide the work we do and help us grow it. Please continue to share your astrological experiences, musings, and ask questions. Give us show and guest recommendations by emailing us at the cosmic dispatch at gmail.com. And you can stay up to date with all of our content on Instagram. And please subscribe to the Cosmic Dispatch on YouTube if you're a visual person or if you'd like to read along with a transcript or closed captioning. Okay, let's dive into this shapeshifter of a week with really incongruent energies. So, first up, we have Mercury in Gemini in a square aspect to Neptune in Pisces. And instantly, this takes me back to last summer's Mars in Gemini retrogrades, as it squared Neptune in Pisces 3 times. Now, this transit is much quicker and less fierce, even though Neptune is still very still in the sky right now, preparing for its retrograde. So remember, when a planet stations, it's closer to the Earth and symbolically more powerful. Mercury square Neptune, particularly in these two signs, spells poetry, dance, painting, and music to me and just about any other astrologer that you'll talk to. Basically, what we're doing is we're taking the communicative and dexterous nature of Mercury and Gemini and pumping it up with imagination, feeling, and the lyrical nature of Neptune in Pisces. So go see or make yourself some art, express your ideas and feelings in ways that are more abstract or impressionistic or romantic. This transit is all about shape-shifting forms and malleable states of being. I guess it is no accident that I have my dance friends here with me today. Um, but just be careful about anything that needs to be exact because it ain't going to happen today or tomorrow. And as usual with these Gemini's Pisces transits, as Edgar Allan Poe says, believe nothing you hear and only half of what you see. That's the Neptune effect on Mercury. Give it a couple days for something more concrete to come to light. Now, the day after Mercury makes that square to Neptune, which is tomorrow on the 26th, it moves into Cancer. In Cancer, Mercury, and Ryan, you have Mercury in Cancer, just so you know.
I'm paying very close attention right now.
Okay. In Cancer, Mercury is emotionally driven, nostalgic, and subjective. This is a much more personal Mercury than Mercury in Gemini. It's going to want to think with its feelings and communicate from a very considered place. Mercury in Cancer takes us into the nostalgic body that I was just talking about and really loves continuity with the past and a sense that whatever is happening now has ties to the past. Mercury in Cancer brings us into our fluid bodies and all the ways we've learned to interact with the world from our parents and anyone else who was important to us in early childhood, which is why Mercury in Cancer can be sensitive and a little touchy if it feels unsafe. I'm just checking.
Wendy's giving me some eyes right now.
So this is a Mercury that's working from instinct, the instinct to protect its home, family, and privacy. So this day, the 26th, might be a little too much for some because also on this day, we have Mars and Leo squaring Uranus and Taurus. And when we put Mars and Uranus together, we get earthquake weather. We get volcanic eruptions. And I am speaking metaphorically and literally. The 26th through the 28th look like volatile hair trigger days. And then you add the sensitivity of Mercury and Cancer, and it could jangle some nerves. So, Mars in Leo is an extremely extroverted energy that wants to actively express itself. It wants to lead, it wants to call the shots, it wants to create the world in its image and hold it there. And it's bumping up against Uranus and Taurus, who wants to disrupt the status quo. So there could be some showdowns here. But luckily, on the 28th, the sun in Cancer trines Saturn in Pisces. And here we get some stabilizing forces. I just feel I feel Wendy and Ryan listening to me very intently because this is their show week, and
You're definitely giving us some warnings.
okay,
I'm paying close attention to my
Definitely.
days and dates.
When we should be planning things.
okay. Um, so especially on the emotional front, there's some stabilizing around the 28th. It's almost like the sensitivity police come in after that Mars Uranus transit and give everyone an empathy training seminar. So it soothes things. And then on the 30th, Mercury in Cancer comes by and makes the same trine to Saturn. And this transit looks like talking it out, healing conversations that are backed up by healing actions. So remember, saying I'm sorry is only half the apology. It's pretty meaningless unless there's some effort at a behavior change. But that's what this scenario looks like to me. Also on the 30th, Neptune officially stations retrograde, further emphasizing the emotional nature of the end of the week. And by the weekend, we're going to be firmly in our feels, more forgiving, but also more subjective. We could be very biased by our personal experience, histories, and imagination. And then finally, on Saturday, Mercury conjoins the sun in Cancer for a cazimi. And that's when Mercury enters the heart of the sun. That happens on Saturday. And we are able to make sense of our feelings, or something magically comes together with respect to something very personal to us. A Mercury cazimi in Cancer, and Ryan, you have Sun and Mercury in Cancer, so this is like a very you week.
I feel like this is
Um,
the perfect timing. We scheduled this show at the best time possible for me.
for Wendy too,
Okay.
but a Mercury cazimi in Cancer looks like a memory that comes back to us somehow that makes more sense now. It's like something that has confused us for a long time no longer does. And we gain an understanding about the past or about our feelings that helps us resolve an old hurt. And the fact that this cazimi, this conjunction, is making a lovely sextile to Jupiter in Taurus just adds a sense of beauty, expansiveness, and deep wisdom to whatever it is you're reconciling. Like that day, Saturday, July 1st, is really, really just so sweet. And I'm not just saying that so my friends feel good about their show. It really looks good. This weekend would be a great time to get together with loved ones. Cancer also rules the stomach and nourishing and feeding. So, and eat some really good food. Also, get out in nature or go see some dance. And, that's when RAWdance will be performing. So, we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to talk with Ryan and Wendy about dance, movement, art making, and so much more. You're listening to the Cosmic Dispatch. I'm your host, Cory Nakasue, and with me today I have Wendy Rein and Ryan T. Smith, co-founders and artistic directors of RAWdance. They're bringing their San Francisco-based concept series to Kingston this Saturday, July 1st, to the Senate Garage. Welcome, Wendy and Ryan.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for having us.
And before we talk more about the concept series, could you both introduce yourselves to our listeners and just tell us a little about yourselves?
Well, as you said, my name is Ryan Smith. I was born outside of Boston, and we shifted. You notice automatically as you talked about the twins, I shifted from I to we very quickly. We shifted. We met each other in college back in years that we will not say out loud, and then shifted to San Francisco. And actually, we're there for 16 years before making the transition here. We were partnered together through another choreographer my freshman year in college. And there was just something about that synchronicity that stuck, and have been dance partners ever since, going on year 20 next year.
Long
Wow.
time.
Actually,
The company
24
is
as
year
dance
20.
partners.
Yeah, it's
Oof.
been even longer as dance partners.
Wow.
And Wendy, I don't want to speak for you.
Sure. I'm originally from New York City, and then uh, we met in college, as Ryan was saying. We moved to the Bay together with no expectations of starting a dance company. It just kind of evolved as, I guess, this twin relationship, which is now what I'm going to call it.
You can tell we're both very fascinated with what you said.
I
So
know.
we're kind
Trying
of
to
distracted
process.
as I have a whole new lens to think about what we've been doing for the past 20 years of our lives.
Well, I'm going to give just the mini honest truth is that I think the professor who paired us in college, is a snap decision. We frankly look alike. We're tall, lanky people. We both have blue eyes. Like there was just this very easy visual.
Oh, wow.
And yet clearly there was something deeper that stuck for all of those years. But yeah, we're in the Bay for 16, came back here shortly before the pandemic and kind of recreating what the life is, at least for myself on the East Coast, which I definitely missed when I was out in California, and figuring out what it is to be a we and a company in both of those spaces at once.
So you're actually doing the bi-coastal thing. You're not like primarily in one space or the other.
So far, it is well, physically, primarily in the Hudson Valley. We both live here pretty much full time. In High Falls, it is like a full commitment and very happy here. Um, Transitioning the company has been a slower process. And I think there's still lots of questions to work out as to what the transition is and what that percentage is moving forward. But a lot of our dancers are still in San Francisco, a lot of our audience, and some of our funders.
But that's why we're so excited to have the concept series coming, is because we can actually bring a bit of our San Francisco history to Kingston, but it's also a chance for us to start sharing our work and to start highlighting the other dance that's happening here. That's really important to us and something we've been able to carve out for the company in San Francisco and that we wanted to carry here. And it's, pre-pandemic was a wonderful idea moment to move to the Hudson Valley, but definitely created some challenges
Yeah.
when you are performing companies. So that's why it's been a little bit of a slow kind of navigation and finding our footing within that bicoastal model.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a dancer in the Hudson Valley, and I had some things going on, and there was like a movement to try to form bigger, healthier, more supported, more organized places for the dance community up here. And then right as that was kind of taking off, the pandemic happened, and then everyone kind of scattered and we lost a lot of momentum, a lot of energy. And so I'm really glad you're here and like still sticking it out and like trying to get it to happen. And to do it at Senate Garage and in a series like this is really, really special. Can you tell us a little bit more about like the concept series?
So we started the series back in 2007. It's been a minute, in San Francisco, trying to create a platform both for our company and for guest artists to share work at any point in the creation process. So part of what I think we were realizing is that frequently, dance, you'll spend all this time, months and months and months in the studio working so hard to build a work, and you share it for a day, you share it for a weekend, a production. It only makes it to a certain number of people. It doesn't get any testing points along the way. There's no way of really like, you don't know what a work is if you are live performing art until you put it in front of people. It's so important to really understand that energy, to understand that exchange. We were feeling the urgent need for that, and we realized a lot of our peers, a lot of our friends were like, yeah, that's amazing, that's something that we need test points, we need pressure, we need deadlines. Like all of these things are really a reality. It's both connection to the audience and like, yes, I need a couple of midpoint markers. So we started it, as I said, in 2007 to create that for ourselves, but also wanting to find a platform for audience members who might be a little bit more uh, disinclined to attend theatrical concert dance. You know, there can often be this discomfort, this barrier, this energy that is not necessarily the most welcoming, the most inviting, and the most positive when you're in a formal proscenium theater. And I'm a dancer. I love dance. I love going to see contemporary ballet. Frequently, I feel uncomfortable. I feel like I need to be sitting up straight, dressing more properly, and carrying myself with a certain air while I'm in those spaces.
Or that you're supposed to know something about it going in, which I
Mhm.
think is the other big barrier to entry, especially for something like contemporary dance, which can be really abstract. And we, most of us just don't grow up learning that language. So having a platform where it could be an incredibly casual vibe. I mean, that is the point. We serve popcorn, we serve cookies, we serve coffee. Like
We feed the stomach, as you were
we
saying. For us,
host.
we cancers know that you need to feed the stomach.
We Pisces do too. But yeah, we really made it the way that I think we wanted to go see a show, which was how it started, is that it's this incredibly like welcoming, casual atmosphere, but the dance is really good. And you know, the dances are all they're short, they're 10 minutes or less. There's kind of there can be a dialogue between the dances, even though nobody knows what anyone else is going to make, including us. We get little, you know, we get notices from the artists kind of giving us an idea so we can set a program order. We don't see anything until the day of. So it's a surprise all around. Uh, but really being able to kind of take in all of those different bits of what dance is and what dance looks like in process or even post process or where its next process is going, and just enjoy it while you're watching.
I love that. Yeah, being an artist in New York City, and you know this too, probably a lot of performance gets attended by other performers, and it becomes very insular, very incestuous, and it's hard to like build a broader community. And I think that things like this actually have a good shot at doing that, because then the audience feels like they're part of the
Mhm.
process, and they might want to see what happens next at a next showing or the next performance. And then you start actually building a community, not just of artists watching each other's work, but people who just enjoy it and want to make the arts a part of their lives, which I think is not especially an American thing because of the commodification of art.
Mhm.
I used to also make dance in Europe, and it's totally different. You get funded to just do research and rehearse and have sharings, and everybody watches art. Everybody goes to
Yeah.
the theater. The mailman goes to the theater, not just people in like higher institutions of learning. And so I love, yeah, I just want to say I love what you're doing and how that's just a really smart model for making a dance community that is just not dancers for
Yep.
dancers, which just gets so
That's a total pet peeve of ours where we
Yep.
are with you. We want to feel like we're performing for and with our community, not just our dance community, our broader community. We want
Right.
that to be the people who are in the room.
Right. And then you get audience members and maybe even they bring their kids
Mhm.
and they're like, "Oh, that's cool. Where can I go learn this?" And then you have a whole other generation of people learning dance and being dance literate. And then it's not so scary and weird.
100%. I mean, we always love kids do generally. A lot of people do bring kids to the series, or at least they have in San Francisco. And it's not that the dances themselves are made for kids.
Mhm.
Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. But the vibe is so casual and so easy. Like they can get up between pieces and go get a cookie or carrot sticks, depending on
We do
what their
not give
parents might want.
cookies to kids unless we check with the parents first. That is a Concept Series hosting rule.
But it is like we have kids now, or some of our peers have kids now in San Francisco who've been coming since pretty much we started it back in 2007. And of course now they're much older, and some of them are already studying dance. They've made it part of their life.
That's awesome. Um, I want to get a little more personal now.
I'm scared.
Don't be scared. How does your collaboration work? Because I know you're collaborating as artistic directors, but you also collaborate choreographically. Do you find that, one person does certain things or has certain roles? What's your dynamic?
I mean, we collaborate as equally as we possibly can, which is always dynamic is actually a good way of thinking about it. It is always shifting in every moment, from everything from the rehearsal process, creating movement, making artistic decisions, making administrative and business decisions. I mean, everything we do is something that I think is unique. That graphic design is a collaborative process for us. Banking collaborative. I'm not really sure how, but sure. Where the our partnering is something that the two of us, I mean, it's a very like active back and forth in all the decisions that we make. I would say that within that, we probably do have our own personalities. I'm probably
You
the
probably have your own personality. Spoken
know,
like a true twin.
After so long, you kind of wonder where the boundaries
Right,
are.
yeah, it's
totally.
true. But I think we know each other so well that we also know to just embrace the like when someone is being stronger about something, and if you have to know when you need to stick by uh, your guns. uh, Idioms you'll learn, not my strong suit. As Wendy could also tell you. And yeah, you learn to kind of work with each other's strengths, to give each other the space and to give each other kind of the room to both be within your what you excel in, and also sometimes to actually push and be like, today I think I need to be the one that actually does this a little bit more. Like that's me. I will, you can probably tell because I'm dominating the conversation. I'm someone who will like jump into rehearsal. I'm gonna be the one who's gonna just start diving in. And Wendy's, I think, likes to take like a moment to reflect and sit back a little bit. So that's something that we've had to navigate regularly.
It is very true. And I think it's funny, we don't analyze that very often, and we probably should more. It's totally work doesn't necessarily cover it because it's so many waking hours, but it is essentially like a work marriage. I mean, we have to navigate all of the interpersonal things as well as all of the work things because the work is so close, both physically that we are actually dancing
Yeah.
together and um, kind of up in each other's business half the time. and uh, all the back end of actually making the dances and doing all the like running a company, which is a lot of what we do that has nothing to do with the artistic part, and that takes a huge amount of navigation and patience and figuring out those personal quirks and
Right.
when to step back and when to kind of assert and all of those different things.
I've often referred to us as the Will and Grace of the dance world, which is
I need bigger hair.
frighteningly accurate in many respects, down to Wendy's red hair and Wendy is Jewish, I am gay. Like it is just, it's one of those funny, entertaining things. But I do think that to some degree, you think about how, like, for those of you who know Will and Grace, how complex their relationship is, how
Yeah.
interdependent, how codependent, how just crazy. I'm like, yes, we are that. We don't deny it. We embrace it. It's what has made us function. It's what's made us unique within the dance field. someone could probably write a thesis about the complexity of our Will and Grace relationship. But yeah.
Well, and I feel like you probably have more of a backstory or an explanation as to
Oh, I like
some of that relationship that
as
I'm
you were
so curious
talking,
about.
as you were talking, and I didn't bring my computer, but I did look at both of your charts, and I'm seeing some of the things that were symbolized, and we'll totally get to that because I think it'll be really interesting for you as well. But first, could you tell us about who's performing this weekend and what kinds of things we might? I know you said you haven't really seen anything, but what might we expect if you can?
Certainly. Yeah. I mean, that really is the exciting part is we don't know exactly what's going to happen. We curate by artist. So we, try to learn about all the amazing artists out there who are doing cool things and then say, whatever you're working on right now, bring that. And so it could be something that's something they've done for a long time and they've kind of been working on, the same idea for a while, or they could come and try something totally new. So for instance, Jillian Sweeney, who's one of the artists,
That we actually met through you. So thank you
yes,
for connecting us.
exactly. Says that she makes hybrid performances that use dance story audio installation and objects to build textured little worlds for all kinds of performance spaces. And specifically, she's someone who said that she often works with tape decks and using microphones. And this time she's only coming with a breath score. So she's trying something that's
Ooh.
different for her. And I'm very curious to see what that looks like,
Oh,
feels
yeah.
like.
And I feel like this also circles back to some of what you're saying, where she's like directly going back to like the core of the body. Like I think it's interesting that she is stripping down just to her breath, to herself.
Oh, interesting.
I think so.
Okay.
You have that history. You can, with her.
Yeah.
Try to imagine that too.
Yeah. Jillian's an amazing performer. Yeah, I think you're gonna love whatever she does.
I'm sure we will. I mean, that's the crazy thing, right? Like we always love people that bring the most thoughtful and experimental and cool and funny works that, blow us away every time. So that's always the good part. Chris Black is someone we actually have a long history with. She's a fellow San Francisco transplant. So we were very excited that she and her partner, Courtney Marino, came out here a couple years after we did, and that we were able to rope her into this first concept series here. She makes work that's often it's witty. It does have comic elements. She actually invites the audience to laugh at whatever's going on. I know this piece she's talking about it being super casual, so the dancers are kind of walking and talking around the space and aware of the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I know.
And we'll find out more. We also have RAWdance, which is a collaborative trio of three friends that are bringing they have a long-term history and a long-term experiment they've been working on in the studio that goes back between text and imagery, and this kind of iterative process of writing, creating movement, going back to writing. Just it's very, I think it's a fascinating approach. It's very cerebral. It's very interesting how layered and textured it is. They will be sharing work. We have Sarah Chen, who is a New York City originally based artist who has just moved to Rosendale, and is also a farmer on the side, which I love. It's a lovely dual identity, and she will be bringing, I believe, a solo work and revisiting something that she's done recently in the past, kind of in this new intimate context.
That also, I think, ties in farming, and
Yep.
at least the title refers to weeds. So I think it's all about that kind of growth and plant life and how those things connect.
Very cool.
And the last artist is Sandra Loring, who I know many people in the Hudson Valley know very well, because she is
done everything.
She has done everything, but particularly within the yoga community, she just has trained so many people, has worked with so many people, and is just super aware, super community driven, super wonderful. So we're very excited to have Sandra as part of this as well.
And all we know about the piece that she's bringing is that it has a whole bunch of props that require some elaborate setup. So, I know.
We're curious.
Set pieces.
Exactly.
Very cool. Yeah, that sounds really interesting. And are you performing?
Yes.
We are, yes.
And what might you be sharing?
We're doing a couple of pieces. One is a new duet for Rein and Yapel Gallegos, who is on faculty or is an associate
He's on faculty at
on,
Bard.
on faculty
I don't
at
actually
Bard.
know his
We
current
never
title.
know titles, but is a beautiful dancer that we've been working with for this project, and that is a duet that's going to be the very beginning of a piece that we're developing in San Francisco this fall. So it's been awesome to have that deadline to be able to get it started and actually make the first piece. And the project is all about men or male identifying folks who are in love or who have love.
It's based on a collection of photos called Loving, Photographic History of Men in Love, 1850s to 1950s, that we will be actually sharing some reprints of the photos in a gallery space and creating 5 separate duets eventually, over the course of the next fall, 5 separate duets, each based launching from one of the images. So we took one image, it's kind of 1920s-ish, and it's a specific tone love duet between the two of us. And then the other work, it's actually fascinating you're talking about nostalgia, and it's kind of like connecting back to past and history, because both of the works actually tie back to history. So maybe there is,
As does a lot of our work.
as does a lot of our work, it's true. The other work is looking at social etiquette, and specifically the etiquette of ballroom dance from a Victorian kind of maybe to 1920s, 1930s perspective. And will eventually actually be an all-female cast next year. But for this, it's the two of us with a lovely dancer, Carly Johnson, who we work with regularly.
Wow. Sounds so exciting. What else was I going to ask you here? It sounds like everyone's moving to the Hudson Valley, by the way. It was like, really? Oh, they're moving to Rosendale and they're like, in- interesting.
We've actually definitely in the
It's a
last
good trend.
2 weeks, we've learned of another few dancers,
Yeah.
choreographers who are moving up here from our lives, we're so excited.
Like
Yeah,
from
they're
San
some of our
Francisco.
favorite people. Yeah.
San Francisco via Switzerland.
Switzerland.
Now here, yeah.
Everyone's moving. Like I know other people too who have an eye on the Hudson Valley, and they're like, "This is the year. I'm gonna do it." It's like,
Let's bring them all in.
I know. I mean,
yeah,
the more artists, the merrier, especially. So hey.
yeah, yeah. I think that'll help with the momentum is to have everybody in one place ish,
Yeah.
at least close, and have everyone get to know each other.
Yep.
There are so many like just disparate artists kind of floating around right now, and I'm just really like, can we have like some kind of structure to ground on? Yeah, I'm so glad you're here.
Well,
um oh yeah.
just one other thing I wanted to say that's I guess from the artist side of the series that I'm really excited about, and then I think we always are, but it does also give, the artists the chance to come together. And there's always some of these artists who have never met each other. I mean, we had never met Jillian until you introduced us, and yet we will be doing this thing this weekend. And I feel like that also kind of helps us solidifies the wrong word, but like really drive our community and figure out, what each of us needs to do the things that we want to do. So even talking about creating platforms and like kind of getting things going again in the Hudson Valley and the dance world, like, just reading Sandra's bio, it's like, wait a minute, you've done all of these things. You've made these things happen here before. I have no idea what they are, but I get to talk to you about them this weekend. So I also feel like we get to learn from each other in that
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, it keeps things from stagnating. It keeps the work vibrant and fresh and challenging. Exciting stuff. We are going to take a short break, and when we come back, more with Ryan and Wendy. You're listening to the Cosmic Dispatch. I'm your host, Cory Nakasue, and with me today, live in the studio, I have Wendy Rein and Ryan Smith, co-founders and artistic directors of RAWdance, and they have an event coming up this weekend on Saturday, July 1st, and there are 2 showings, right?
That is correct. There's one at 3 p.m. and one at 7:30 p.m.
Okay, and where would people get tickets for this?
RAWdance.org. It's the top event on the page.
Okay. And is there any other information that people need to know about coming here and arriving or
Well, one
anything
thing to
else?
note is that it is a pay what you can show. We have a $10 to $30 suggestion, but really we want people to come. We don't want anyone to feel like the cost of the show is a barrier. So please do come. Anything is appreciated. If you would like to get advance tickets at a cost or a price that is not listed on Eventbrite. We're using Eventbrite as a ticketing source. Just email us. We can help arrange that. It's totally fine. It's impossible for us to create absolutely every possible ticket level. So we had to make some choices. But yeah, just reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Also, don't forget that coffee and popcorn and other snacks are served because we very, very, very passionately believe that dance is better with food.
Amen to that. And also it only runs about an hour. So like everything really is bite-sized. It is a just, come see a lot of dance and then go get dinner kind of event.
Perfect. Perfect. Um, and also another selfish question because I'm like so desirous of dance community in the Hudson Valley. Do you have any like educational offerings planned around here or programs or
What would you like to see?
um dance classes or workshops? Um more of these sharings where people just get together and riff and share work and get feedback again in an effort to learn from each other, get to know each other, meet new collaborators to make new things. Yeah, things like that.
That's actually super helpful to hear. And maybe I'd put a shout out to anyone listening to let us know
Yes.
if you have other things that you're interested in. Because one of the things that we're trying to navigate always with our bi-coastal model is we are still fairly new here and we only want to do programming that makes sense, that actually fills a void, like
That
answers,
serves the
responds to a need,
community.
serves the dance community, serves the local community, serves audience members. And because we have a longer history in the Bay Area, we understand that. We know more artists. We're in regular dialogue
Right.
after living together, being together for so long. And this concept series has actually been really fruitful for us already to have some of these conversations with those artists and other artists we've reached out to. And we'd love to hear more because we do think that any educational programming or anything that we do, we just want to make sure that it is actually the right fit, that it really does make sense. So if you know of
But
anything,
yes,
holler.
possibly. We both love teaching workshops and doing other things. So let's keep talking.
Yeah, definitely. Let's keep talking. And if you're out there and you love dance, you live in the Hudson Valley, and you're tired of dragging yourself to the city every time you want to go see something, or if you want to take class, things like that, please reach out to RAWdance and just like, give them your 2 cents. Talk about the things you would like to have. Because I'm I would like to have them too, and I'd be happy. I'm happy to teach. I'm happy to take. I'm
Oh, that's
happy to
so good to know.
participate. So yeah, I'm just a big fan of y'all. I'm so glad you're here. Um, what else? I think is it time to get astrological, or is there more dance stuff that we want to talk about?
I think it's gonna
I
all connect. I'm
Okay.
very
exactly.
I
curious
think
about
it
this.
I think it will. And because I was in a rush to leave the house, I forgot my computer and I don't usually bring my computer, but I did look at your charts and I could tell you a couple of things that really jumped out at me. First of all, Ryan, I was looking at your chart and of course since it's Cancer season, that Sun in Cancer Mercury retrograde in Cancer really jumped out at me. It's a water sign. And then I noticed Wendy is also like a double Pisces. Yeah, you have Sun in Pisces, Mercury in Pisces. So that's kind of similar to Ryan's, that's water sign as well. And here's where things start to get really more connected. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not surprised that you have this like telepathic, intuitive, bond and ability to communicate. So, who is the Pisces rising? Um, Ryan, you are Pisces rising. Yes, you're a Pisces rising, and I don't know if you know what that means.
I don't. This is an educational experience for me. I'm taking it in.
Same here.
Um, well, basically, our rising sign or the ascendant is the most important part of our chart. It's kind of like the control center or the cockpit that's furnished with all the tools you're already really adept at using to get through life. And so you might just read up on Pisces, and the degree that your rising sign is at, which is determined why, astrologers always want to know, like, what's the exact time that you
Mhm.
were born. That first breath of independent life out of the womb is how we figure the rising sign or the ascendant. And so right where you have your ascendant, we have Wendy's Mercury in Pisces. It's right on
Hmm.
your ascendant. And yeah, so that's really
I love
beautiful.
this.
And Pisces is the other sign of dance. Gemini and Pisces are the ones that we go to when we're thinking of dance. It's where we have Gemini with a lot of intellectual fluidity and language fluidity. In Pisces, there's a lot of fluidity of feeling, its imagination, its expansiveness, it's a lack of boundaries, for better and worse. Because there's no boundaries, everything gets in, and you have access to a lot of things that might not even be, quote unquote, real or material. It's like there's a lot of intuition, a lot of imagination, and a lot of empathy, to the point with Pisces. And both of you have strong Pisces, to the point of, I don't know if this is my thought or feeling, or if I'm like absorbing it from you or the ether or the atmosphere, because we're dealing with that lack of boundary situation. So you're it's like you have multiple antenna,
Mm.
and it's all out there, like grabbing everything, which is amazing for making art. Pisces is a very artistic sign, but also can be very confusing, because you're getting an influx of every single thing. And sometimes, especially for Pisces, the way they deal with that is to create some kind of form in an effort to help them understand the multiple pieces of emotional information, physical information, mental information, so they don't feel constantly at sea.
Hmm.
And I don't know if any of that is resonating.
Totally resonates. At least on my end.
No, it does for me as well.
Yeah, so Sun Mercury Pisces over here with Wendy, and then Pisces rising with Ryan, and then both of you are water signs. That's just when we're in water signs, there's a lot of connectivity.
Mhm.
And so yeah, the fact that you both have so much water, and you have some like exact placements touching each other, is, yeah, it's just that flowing back and forth. I'm not sure if this is yours or mine, and doesn't matter. It's ours. It's our things that we're doing. It's our information, our expressions. Um, and then there's another bit that I also found really interesting, and I see this a lot in dancers. And since a lot of my friends are dancers, I even did a show about this pairing. I had like 6 of my friends on who have Pisces Virgo oppositions, and all of them are artists and movement artists. And both of you have Virgo very prominently in your charts. And I told you before the show a little bit about the synastry. When we look at 2 charts together, Ryan has Jupiter in Virgo, and Wendy has her moon in Virgo. And we had another, this one was exact. Ryan's Jupiter right on top of Wendy's moon. And Virgo is the opposite sign of Pisces. Virgo is actually very exacting, very interested in systems, being organized. How does this work? We need to form like organizational principles and routes, and places to put things, and there's a place for everything, and everything in its place. which is the opposite of Pisces, which is just it's just everything all
Mhm.
mixed together. But the thing is, the two of them work so well together, and I find that people who have a lot of Pisces, when they also have Virgo, it gives them something to do with all this imagination and all this feeling and all this flow. And they can reach out to that Virgo sign and say, I'm going to make little compartments here. And I'm going to also, Virgo is very, how do I put this? It, it's very invested in things of high quality. That's just a nice way of like, can be a little snobby, right? It's like, nope, not quite good enough, not quite good enough. It has that perfectionistic
Mhm.
vibe. But so does Pisces in another way. It's like, even though they're opposite, opposites aren't actually like having nothing to do with each other. Like, that's just totally not what I'm about. The thing with opposites is they're usually, I think all the time actually, two ends of one spectrum. And so, where Virgo tries to make everything be perfect by weeding out all the like undesirables and the flaws and doing the editing, that's how we're making that perfect. Pisces wants to make everything perfect by including everything, like thinking of like a perfect circle. It's trying to make things whole. And so, when you have those two together, like you can do some amazing things with art. For example, Virgo would be the scales that you learn on the piano
Mhm.
or in ballet, like doing your ballet bar. And Pisces would be the opus that you create, the masterpiece. It's the artistry, but the artistry can't get expressed unless you have the
Mhm.
craft. And if you just have craft without like the vision and the imagination, well, you just have craft. You have maybe something very useful, but it's not infused with the thing of art, which is a Piscean thing. So that both of you have these exact, placements within the Pisces Virgo realms. I thought was really interesting for like dance
Mhm.
collaborators.
This feels a little uncanny. I'm just going to put that out there.
It really does, and it's fascinating because we have very similar conversations about what drives us as artists, about finding that balance between, finding the broader meaning, finding the fluid side, finding kind of the more expansive expression, finding where the heart and the soul is behind some of the work, and then also how to really develop craft, how to think about. Um, I think a lot of times in dance for us, people don't necessarily put us. They might put technique might be a part of it, but craft of choreography might not be a part of it, or
Editing.
yeah, editing is a very important part of an artistic process as far as we both believe. So it's, yeah, we have these conversations just in a different with a different language, a different approach. It's fascinating to kind of hear it spoken back to us from the charts.
Oh, amazing. I want to do some astro dramaturgy with you, like so bad. So let me know if you're ever
Love
interested in
this.
that.
All right.
But we're running out of time. Oh my God. Like, I want to have more dance conversations with you. And if you want to have more dance conversations and actually see some dance, reach out to RAWdance at rawdance.org.
Correct.
And I'm sure you're all over the socials.
We are Instagram's great _RAWdance.
Okay. And don't forget, July 1st is the concept series at Senate Garage. Then when's the matinee?
3
3
p.m.
o'clock.
3 o'clock. And the evening show is
7:30 p.m.
7:30. Don't miss this. And thank you, Ryan and Wendy. It was just delightful as usual.
Thank you for
Thank you,
having us, and
Cory.
we've learned so much.
I know, this is
We're going to be talking
fascinating.
about this for quite some time.
Well, and I hope all of you get out, go see some dance, do something fun, be with the people you love. And I will see you next week, same time, same place. Have a great week.